Hi guys, so it's late. Unfortunately, I've been a bit knackered after the weekend, so finally getting round to doing my Fantasycon haul, which is quite big. I failed. Right, so first in my bag of goodies is the Fantasycon book, which I really enjoyed reading through because I got to see all the different panels that were going on. I did attend 2 readings, which were really good. I didn't get to stay for many, unfortunately, because we turned up about 1ish, 12, and then nothing was opened up until 1 for registration. Did get to look at some really good dealer books though, so I got to see quite a few publishing companies and what they had to offer. I got to see a reading which was by, if I can remember, Susie Williamson and Clint Wasteling, which was quite interesting to be fair. I got to see a reading from his book, and that was something. I only got to see a little bit of Susie's work, but that sounded interesting as well. In fact, I have one book from the publishing company that they're with, which I'll get round to. So I got to have a look at some up-and-coming books like The House of Sacrifice, which will be out. And there's a comic book that's also with Matt Adcock's Complete Darkness, which looked interesting, so I'll be keeping an eye out for that one. I also got this from Luna Press, which won one of the awards at the Fantasy Society's big dinner, which next year I am totally attending, because by the sounds of things, Luna were a really good publishing company, along with an audio that I follow called the Magnus Archives. They also won an award, so well done guys. I do listen to your podcast quite a bit. This is the one I got from Luna, the Satanic in Science Fiction and Fantasy, and this one is by A.J. Dalton. There is quite a few other authors that they do in these dinky little books, which I really like the look of, but this one appealed to me because it helps with the research I'm doing for book 2 of my World Falls series. So I'll be doing 3 books, and then I'll be doing a compilation book combined with another author who I was with at the Fantasycon convention called S.G. Mulholland, and we will be combining our efforts on that one. But this one helps with my research for one of my particular characters, to give him a more darker edge, and it'll help with research. So there was quite a few great books actually that Luna did for research for writers, including one that I bought for my partner, which was called Tolkien the Pagan, reading Middle-earth through a spiritual lens, which looked really cool, and obviously my partner's a Tolkien fan, so I thought that'd be cool for him. I also have ones that came in my goodie bag for Fantasycon, including this one, which is the Blacktongue Thief, which is a proof copy, so not for resale. I like the look of this one. I loved reading into it a bit more, which follows the exploits of a woman who is a knight called Galva, who runs into a thief who basically he thinks he's caught an easy target, finds out that's not the case, ends up on the same journey as her looking for her queen. So I'll be reading that, or I'll be getting your half to read it, because I have so many in my book collection already for reviews. Then we move on to a couple that I got with Alchemy. So I'll just stick those 2 together actually. That 2, 3. Basically I went to the table and I ended up just picking up absolutely loads of books. And one of which is an author that I follow quite a bit. So this one is the Alchemy Press Book of Horrors, and it's a collection of horror stories. So you know me, I love my anthologies, so this one appealed to me big time. also is signed by some of the authors in there, which I will show you now. Ta-da! I was a little upset because I read through and I was like, oh, Ramsey Campbell, some kind of a laugh is in here. But unfortunately, no Ramsey signature. But that will change. I will get his signature one day. Then I also got this one, which is Pocane Monsters. As you can see, why I was attracted to this beautiful book, because it has Clive Barker artwork on it. And of course, if I see something with Clive Barker on it, I'm going to buy it. So I'll definitely be doing a review on this bad boy, as well as the one I got from Crystal Lake called Gutted, which has Clive Barker actually in it, and I'm very excited to get round to reading that. I also got from them Fables and Fabrications by Jan Edwards. And there's some beautiful poetry in there, as well as some really cool stories. I'll also be wiggling through that one. I did have a brief look at some of the poems while I was on the train. Very heartfelt, really intense poems. So, and I got to meet her as well, and she was absolutely lovely. So I will definitely be keeping you guys up to date on this one as well. So I got quite a few from the Alchemy table. So I was really happy about that. But this one really appealed to me. It's edited by Peter Colborne and Pauline E. Dungate. And it's called Something Remains. Joel Lane and Friends. Now, the reason this one appealed to me is because Joel died in November 2013. And he was well known for his collection of short stories. And when he suddenly passed, all of his friends got together. They looked through all the notes that he had, because it turns out that he had quite a few notes for short stories that he was going to work on, but as he passed, he couldn't get round to it. So these guys took those notes, and each one of them took a certain set of his notes and either A, completed his stories, or they made a perception of it from his notes to make a story itself. So I'm looking forward to reading this one, because I love anything with a bit more heart to it, and for me this has so much sentimental value, and it has so much of a way for me to kind of get a look into the author himself, because I haven't got any of Joel's work. I'd love to get an insight into his mind. The other one that I got was, like I said, I checked out the reading from the authors that are under this particular publishing company called Stairwell Books. This one looked really cool. I love unusual covers, so for me it was like, ooh, what's going on here? Let me read the blurb for you. So the blurb says, in this collection of short stories, William Thirsk-Gaskill experiments with conflicted characters and with many diverse points of view. He uses pared-down contemporary style in which every story is articulated using as few words as possible. Now, this is what I struggle with when I'm doing my stories and editing. I've spoke to Joe Young about this quite a bit, actually. And we've tried to master me down a tad, and I still struggle with it. So I'm hoping by looking into this author's work and how he manages to cut down his stories to make, explain it more simply, I can get a better insight in how I can improve on my writing and do a similar kind of style, because I know that I have a very terrible habit of over-explaining things or repeating to the reader, and I would love to get rid of that, because, reader doesn't need to be told several hundred times the same point, which is one of my weak points, so I'm hoping this helps me out with that. And the other book I got, this one, is from a publishing company called Guardbridge Books. Guy was lovely on the table. I saw quite a few stories there, but I thought at this point, I've got 6 books already, but I thought, what the hell, I'll get another one. And this one is Scotland's Untold Stories. It's an unusual collection, no longer forgotten from history, the lost stories of Scotland revealed. Now, my mum is Scottish on her father's side, who's from Glasgow. So I thought, you know what, it'd be nice to get a bit of an insight into my mum's background. So, and plus it's a lovely little present for my mum, because, I do love her. Anyway, moving on. Then had this one, also from Guardbridge Books. Now, this was the main one I was interested in when I looked at the table. And you can probably understand why. Now, as far as spooky dolls and creepy, horrible marionette, like, ventriloquist dummies are concerned, anything that's like a porcelain doll, puppet freaks me the hell out. So the idea of experimenting with Death by Effigy is a really good kind of like eye grabber, and I was really interested to get more details on this one. And this one is Magic, Mystery and Marionettes in the 19th Century of Burma. Now, I don't know very much about Burma, but I'm hoping this will give me a bit more of an insight, and also it's nice to read about other cultures and how they view objects such as these. So, also in my goodie book bag that I got from the Fantasycon, I got this one, which is a science fiction one. Now, I don't really read that much science fiction. I will admit it openly. I only have really one science fiction book on my shelf, and I think it's still there. Is it still there? I don't know. Probably isn't, actually. I was probably still at you-know-whose house. I did used to own Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I freaking love Douglas Adams. I will be re-getting that book because I do miss it. But this one is Sacrifice of Spica III. So it's by Eric Brown. I don't usually touch sci-fi, but I will give this one a go. I love the idea that it's about a planet that's plunged into this long winter, and the planet is... its inhabitants are basically fighting something that they're unknown about. So I'll give it a go and let you guys know. It's only a dinky book anyway, so I don't see why I shouldn't give it a go. These are the two that I was most happy to get, these two books. So I currently have submissions with Breaking Rules Europe. I've got 3 Drabbles coming out in their new one, which is coming out... I don't know, actually. I better get that date out. But this one is from one of the authors, and I got to meet him, and he was absolutely darling, David Green. We had a bit of a short chat, but I would love to spend more time getting to know David because he's awesome, and I strongly recommend you guys check out his fantasy work. But this one appealed to me. Now, if you are a follower of me, you know that I love Constantine. So John Constantine in the Hellblazer series, and as soon as I saw this cover, I went, oh my god, he looks like Constantine, I must have it. So I bought this off David, and I also got him to sign it. Look, you told me to enjoy his book. It's so cool. I also got a picture with him. I'll post it at some point. It's on my Facebook, but I will move it to my page as well, just so you guys get an idea. Lovely guy. Can't wait to see him again. And I also got to meet Emma, who I've previously mentioned in a review with It Comes From the Forest. Sorry, It Calls From the Forest. Bad Nat. She did Whale of a Tale, and I got to meet her. Flipping lovely woman. I wish I'd spent more time, got to know her better. But shout out to Emma, you are awesome. Again, this is why I love these kind of conventions, because you get to see the author behind the stories that you've been reviewing, and you get to get a more in-depth look into the personalities of people. And honestly, it just made me want more of their work because of how cool they were as people. I also got to meet CC Adams. I am so gutted, though, that I missed CC Adams's panel, because he did a panel reading at... I've got it on here. I'm terrible. You can tell I'm terrible. I had to go through the list going, oh my god, I missed all these panels. What's wrong with me? No, I can't believe this. There are so many so many good panels that I actually missed on the lineup. I'd love to go on to the self-publishing one, because I'm thinking of doing self-publishing for my first ever book, which will be next year. But when I saw that CC Adams was on the horror reading on the Saturday, I was like, shit. I would have really loved to, because I got to meet CC Adams, I got to meet Mike Pilgrim and Pippa, and they were again, amazingly lovely people. Which moves on to my next author that I got to meet, who was a darling, and I actually got to meet his partner in crime as well, who's his editor. And I bought one of her chokers. I wish I was wearing it now, but I'll send a picture and put it on my Instagram again. These guys are just the ultimately wonderful and crazy team, and I love them. Now, he doesn't just do sci-fi. He's got another story collection, Camelot, which my friend Steve is currently reading, and apparently he's in love with it. He kind of described it as Battle Angel Alita meets medieval. So again, that's like, ooh, I like Battle Angel Alita because I love my anime. As you can see, I'm wearing my Godzilla t-shirt. But this one by David Cartwright. So the Cartwrights, I got to get one, a book from David, and I also got to get a choker from his editor / partner in crime. This is called Rendered Flesh, and it's a zombie RPG. Now, I'm working on an RPG at the moment. It's a story that, if you're any familiarity, oh my god, my brain's not working. If you're familiar with anything that I've mentioned before in the past, I'm currently working on an RPG that's been in my trunk for a bit. It was my first ever story when I first started going seriously into publishing, writing. And I'm going to go back to it, revisit it and rework it, rather than just leave it to sit in my trunk and disappear into the abyss. It's a 10k word count. It just seems stupid of me to leave it there and forget about it. And he was lovely enough to say if I needed any help, he would be fantastically enough to help me out. And I got to actually visit the reading. I was supposed to stay, and I was gutted I missed it, to be honest. Because I got to see, I think it was John I got to see first, so I got to experience John's reading. John Whittle, he was great. I loved the punnage in it, though. It was so much fun. And the story itself, the two characters, it kind of made me want to find more about his work. Then there was also another author that I was interested in. She turned up at the reading with Susie and Clint, and she read one of her like dark horror kind of stories, and it was in an interview kind of format, but it was fantastic how it was done. And it was interesting because it was a horror, but it wasn't quite a horror, because how it ended was on a higher note rather than your usual lower everybody died note. So I'll be definitely posting her stuff as well. I tell you what, all the authors that I've got here, I'll also put in the link so you guys can look them up. Teika was lovely. I'm definitely going to be getting her book that's out this week. And I will also post that in the links as well. But yes, Rendering Flesh, I mean, the blurb itself just sounds amazing. I mean, I'm so impressed with this. Like, the fact that he starts it with, you feel it, don't you? Like maggots in your brain, like maggots in your mind, or ragged teeth gnawing at your belly. I'm like, okay, I'm hooked already. So I can't wait to do this one. So I have got literally an entire pile of books. Look at them all. Oh my god, I'm gonna die because my taboo red pile is so high. I also got quite a few stories on my Kindle this week, including Hank Flynn by Candace Nolan, and I am looking forward to getting into that bad boy. I will also be bringing back Bob, who is a little pain in my ass, for my Tim Mendes top story collection, because I've just read his recent story that's going to be coming out October 1st. So you guys are going to absolutely love it. I strongly recommend that you check out all the authors that I've got in my selection that I will put in my blurb so you guys can check them out. Other than that, as you can see, I have so much writing to do and so much reading to do, but I've got loads of research material, which reminds me that I will also be doing a video of my books that I am currently using at the moment to learn to better my writing, and I will give you a collection of how they are, you know, how they've helped me with shaping and structuring my writing. I'll also be talking to you about groups that can help with improving writing, networking, anything I can do to help people that are starting in the horror community or fantasy community now, because there's a Get Writing Fantasy group now. Joe's on the ball as always, supporting the community. As soon as they started saying, oh, I wish there was a group that did fantasy as well, it was like, and I did this. We were like, oh, Joe, you are such a legend. Right. That's my selection. Thank you for being around long enough to listen to me rabbit about it. I love you all. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to check out my page. I love you all, and I will speak to you later.